Good morning, folks, and very happy Wednesday to you. I hope and pray you're doing well this morning. It's a beautiful day out there, albeit a little bit cold. I mean, this is early spring in Southern Virginia, so this should come as absolutely no surprise to anyone. One day warm, one day cold. But don't you worry, I promise you one thing's for sure. As sure as the sun is shining this morning, at some point in the very near future, the switch is going to flip and it's just going to be staying hot on us. So let's enjoy the cool while we can, because we'll be complaining about the hot once it gets here. So, but God just gives us such beautiful days, even when it was raining on Monday. And if y'all watched Monday's devotional, you know that I was a big fan of all the rain that we got on Monday, and so thankful for all of that. But God knows what we need. He's going to give us what we need. He's going to give us His will, and we don't need to worry about it, although we will. So let's try not to. I want to share with you today in our, it's from the Bible app, but it's from 1 Corinthians chapter number 6. And yesterday I talked about the fact that, Christian, we need to be ready. We need to be ready for the coming of Christ. And you remember that we read from Matthew chapter number 24 when Jesus talked about we know not the day when it's coming, so we better be ready. But today Paul tells the Corinthian Christians, and he tells us as well, in 1 Corinthians chapter number 6, starting in verse number 19. Now, the King James, it really gives emphasis to what Paul is saying right here. I think a whole lot better than other versions. And he says, "What?" As if he's astonished that he has to remind the Christians about this. But he says, "What? Know you not that your body is the temple of the Holy Spirit, which is in you, which you have from God, and you are not your own?" Christian, and I'm going to read verse 20 here in just a second, but how often do we realize and understand that we are bought? We do not belong to ourselves. We belong to God. And that leads me into verse number 20. "For you were bought with a price. Therefore, or because you were bought with a price, glorify God in your body and in your spirit, which are God's." This preaches a whole lot to drug abuse, to alcohol abuse, to food abuse. So many things that we can get caught up in that can lead to our destruction. But Christian, our body doesn't belong to us anymore. Maybe it did when we were lost, and at that point we didn't worry about it. But now that you know Christ, your body is not your own. Are you glorifying God in your body and in your spirit? And you know, I said a minute ago, I mentioned alcohol abuse, I mentioned drug abuse, I mentioned food abuse. So many ways that we can wreck our bodies. And sadly, so many people have fallen victim to those type of things. But Christian, we need to understand that our body is not our own. Therefore, we need to glorify God with it. How do we do that? Well, we can do things in moderation. I mentioned food abuse. We don't have to eat everything on the table. I remember it was funny. It was just like clockwork. The day that I turned 30 years old, and for those of you who think that I'm not very old, that was 20 years ago. Don't get me down that rabbit trail. But the day that I turned 30 years old was the day that I really started to realize I couldn't eat the way I used to. And I would try it, and I would feel bad afterwards. So hopefully I'm a little bit better from that these days. But those kind of things can be destructive to us. I was a smoker for many years until the year 2007, when God finally gave me victory over that. Praise be to God. It was nothing that I did on my own. But that type of thing wrecks the body. Alcohol abuse. When people think they have to drink everything from every bottle on the liquor store shelf at one time. Drug abuse. Sad situation. All of those things tear down the body. But Christian, we're called to glorify God in our body and our spirit. And notice what Paul says here, which are gods. I like how he ends that statement right there. He doesn't say, for you were bought with a price, therefore glorify God in your body and in your spirit, period, the end. He said, therefore glorify God in your body and in your spirit, which are God's. It reminds me of a message that I heard on this passage many years ago. The message was titled, Did God Get What He Paid For? So Christian, may we ask that of ourselves today. As we go about our day and we do whatever we do during the day, may we ask ourselves, did God get what He paid for? I hope and pray that you have a wonderful, wonderful day in the Lord today. And I want to remind you, Oak Level, it's Wednesday, so at 6 p.m. tonight, we're going to gather for our prayer and Bible study. And I'm very excited about it because tonight we begin the series on the fruit of the Spirit during our Bible study time. It's going to be a wonderful time. Come on out and be with us 6 p.m. tonight at Oak Level for prayer and Bible study. Love you, folks, and I'll talk to you a little bit later. God bless you.